Hi everybody, it's Kathleen Knaus, chaplain at Vail Health in the Shaw Regional Cancer Center in the beautiful High Rockies of Colorado. I hope you had a good week, and as always, please accept not only my own well wishes and greetings, but those of Chaplains Denise and Annie. We continue to hold you in love and light and are here for you if there's anything that you feel we could do to be of support to your emotional and spiritual well-being. I wanted to introduce you today to Celtic Spirituality. This is a strand of Christianity that began many, many years ago. Christianity had finally been accepted as a religion in the Roman Empire, and early missionaries decided to take Christianity to some of the edges of that empire. And this particular group, I don't know who they were, but they ended up in the far northeastern realms, and we would consider it the British Isles, the areas of Ireland, Wales, and Scotland. And when those missionaries arrived, what they encountered were a variety of tribespeople that we identify historically as the Celts. Now, the Celts didn't know anything about Christianity, but they were very much a believer in the divinity that lived within nature. They were very nature-oriented. We might, and some people do refer to them as pagan, which basically means a nature-oriented kind of wisdom tradition. So rather than dismiss what the Celts already deeply held and valued, these early missionaries thought, there's something to be said here for what they're thinking as true. And that if one took the time to be still and to encounter nature, that one actually could encounter the divine within everything. So just take a moment and think about that, how that applies to you. As you look over my shoulder, I'm filming this along the Eagle River in the Eagle River Preserve in Edwards, Colorado, which also happens to be where the Shaw Regional Cancer Center is located, just up over the hill. So if we are to embrace the possibility that there is divinity, there is a spark of light, there is God, there is true nature, there is creator, whatever your word or words for that sense of mystery that leads to something as beautiful as a high mountain stream, whatever those words are. That is what happened when these early missionaries went into the northern reaches of the Roman Empire. Rather than reject what they found, they incorporated into it this whole deep, deep, deep abiding appreciation and love for nature because it was a reflection of the divine. So, in a nutshell, that's Celtic spirituality. I was kind of tickled to discover, as I was doing my research for this video, that if you were to go on the Meetup app and enter in that you wanted to meet up with other people that were interested in Celtic spirituality, of the 10 largest groups in the United States, 3 of them actually are located here in Colorado. Those of us who live here, hey, big surprise, right? It's a beautiful, beautiful space, and many, many of us find connection, a deep spiritual connection, simply by being out of doors in this area. So I wanted to turn to a couple of pieces of writing from John Philip Newell. He is a Scottish theologian and one of the contemporary experts on Celtic spirituality. In the old days, as I was describing, Celtic spirituality had about 200, 300 years of vibrancy. Then some things happened that changed that for a while, but the Celtic spirit, this sense of Celtic spirit, never really died out, and it's having a resurgence and a flourishing right now. So John Philip Newell is one of those voices, and I will include a reference in the email, so if you're interested in reading any of his books, you'll know how to find him. Meanwhile, I'm going to read from his book that is called The Book of Creation. He has a description in here of Celtic spirituality, or why nature, that I think you might value. He writes, God is not to be found by stepping aside from the flow of daily life into religious movements and environments, or by looking away from creation to a spiritual realm beyond, but rather by entering attentively the depths of the present moment. There we will find God. So just taking a pause to think about that, the depths of the present moment. I'm having my present moment, which is right here with you, surrounded by nature, the beautiful Eagle River behind me. What you can't see in my present moment are little birds hopping around. But take a moment right now, if you don't mind, and sense into your own present moment. It may be like mine, it may be something completely different. You know, our present moments aren't always blissful like this one. Our present moments include sorrow, missing our children while we're sheltering at home, for example. They include pain for those of you who may be in active treatment for cancer. I don't need to tell you anything about that. It may be frustration, it may be anger, we may be in discord with people, or we may just be frustrated with the world in general. Whatever your present moment is, Celtic spirituality would invite you to consider the possibility that every one of those moments, there can be meaning found in it, because there is something, some spark of the divine in there. Maybe it's being distorted by our anger or our sense of frustration, by our pain and our suffering. But within there, everything includes the divine. So this is reflected, I think, pretty well I'm going to excerpt a poem that's also in the same book, but it's by another Irishman, I believe, Kenneth White. He's a poet, and he writes about this dynamic that if we want to embrace the idea that God is in nature, God is in everything, then we have to accept, we may resist it, but the invitation is to accept the possibility that God is even in the suffering. So here's how this poet has captured that thought. The loveliness is everywhere, even in the ugliest and most hostile environment. The loveliness is everywhere, at the turning of a corner, in the eyes and on the lips of a stranger, in the emptiest areas where there is no place for hope, and only death invites the heart. The loveliness is there. It emerges, incomprehensible, inexplicable. It rises in its own reality, and what we must learn is how to receive it into ours. Now that's a pretty big invitation. How do we receive even the difficulties, even the ugliest and most hostile of environments, even sheltering at home, even dealing with pain and suffering? How do we incorporate and bring that reality into our lives in a way that enriches it and makes meaning of it? Now that's one thing that we chaplains would love to be able to help you do, is that process of meaning making, whether it's around joy or whether it's around difficulty. We chaplains are here to do that. So before I end my video this week, I'm going to turn also to John Philip Newell again. He has another book of Celtic benedictions, and in it has a beautiful prayer that I think is pretty apt for this moment. And before I read it aloud, I just want to acknowledge something that's a truth in all of my videos, and I hope you're hearing it here today too. Whether you identify as a Christian or whatever your spiritual identity is, please know that there is wisdom, I believe, in the all of it. And so whether my word for God or the word God doesn't resonate for you, maybe there's another word that does. Whether the term prayer doesn't resonate for you, maybe blessing does. Whatever it is, please take these offerings, tailor them to your own perspective, because that's what makes this so beautiful for me as somebody who loves theology, who loves interfaith conversation. is that there is wonder, magic, mystery in all of it. And whatever you're thinking, however you feel and believe, is perfectly wonderful, just as it is. So, let me end with this prayer by John Philip Newell. I watch this morning for the light that the darkness has not overcome. I watch for the fire that was in the beginning and that burns still in the brilliance of the rising sun. I watch for the glow of life that gleams in the growing earth and glistens in sea and sky. I watch for your light, O God, in the eyes of every living creature and in the ever-flowing flame of my own soul. If the grace of seeing were mine this day, I would glimpse you in all that lives. Grant me the grace of seeing this day. Grant me the grace of seeing. So, my friends, thank you for yet another week. These videos really allow me to feel very connected to you, and I hope that you find some value in them. So, may your week ahead be filled with everything that you need. May you feel supported. May you know that you are loved beyond measure and that you are never, ever alone. We are here for you. Please don't hesitate to call out. Bye for now.